joined today by Marianne and Jackie Van Hage of the Van Hage family, a garden centre group that we bought recently last November. The Van Hage business is probably, for me, the most famous story of garden centres in the UK. I think you'd agree you kind of started it all those years ago. And for me, when I was a young man coming into garden centres looking for inspiration, there were only two places I used to go. One was Burford Garden Centre in Oxfordshire, and the other place was coming to Van Hage's in the early 90s. And it was way ahead of its time. It was inspirational, groundbreaking, and it was a sheer joy to come here. And metaphorically, I would be on my knees looking up thinking, wow, I wish I could do something like this one day. And 30 years later, it's lovely to finally meet the Van Hage family, learn about their history, which is, as Jackie said, you could write a book on it. And I'd like to take the opportunity this evening to talk to the girls about their journey, about their parents and starting this business, which starts all the way back in the 1930s. In England, and your grandfather then sets about to grow bulbs in England?
Well,
did he, or
Cruise Hill now?
Cruise Hill, yes, he did, and there's still lots of Warmadam relatives in Cruise Hill. But when the war started, obviously nobody was bothered about growing bulbs. They grew potatoes and tomatoes, I think.
Yeah, for food. And I think he had a patch of because I think Mum always said she had as well a little flower stall in Cuffley train station as well. And she always said that there was always some flowers that we grew in the war because people sometimes just wanted some colour and a bit of life and a bit of happiness.
We're back from the commercial break. It's good to see you all again. So, when we got interrupted by two stray customers with their coffee chatting away in the background, we were talking about your grandfather just died, and the baton passed immediately to your mother. Because was she the oldest of?
She was the oldest of six. And she was so good at business, I think, that her father knew that he was onto something with her, I think. And then her brother Pete was 3 years younger, was also very entrepreneurial, but she basically was handed over the business with a bit of a debt, I believe, and sorted it out with, I would have said...
It was mainly rose growing by that time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They had nurseries, the glass houses that are still there now.
Yeah.
Right.
And
roses, right.
And so then she knew that, you know, she wanted to go her own way with Dad and do something with what was now known as a garden centre. Then it would have been just a sort of a greenhouse with maybe some plants and peat, and so she then divided that land, and still some of our relatives on her side have retained that and have got some fairly good garden centres down Cattlegate Road, which is a big garden centre road in Enfield. And then her and Dad decided to buy this old pig farm, Spittlefield Farm, which is in Broxbourne, our original site, with a little house. And that's where it started. Dad got the windmill there, the rockery.
the council gave them permission to live there for 5 years, and then they said it will have to be pulled down.
So we're now, that was in 1953.
Yeah.
And she was little more than the early 20s at that age.
Yeah, we're 28, 25,
28, 29.
26, and then Marianne was born, I think, fairly soon after they were married. We were born in...
Let's not go there. Let's not go there. Blimey.
And then she writes here in bold, as some of our 6 children were becoming more interested in the retail side. So who were the some, would you say, of you 6 that became?
Well, I think they were very, especially my mother was very interested in the girls, and the girls were quite academic, you have to admit, Marianne, you, Lindy and Jenny, and very interested in going to university, because there was something, I think, about Mum being so worried about not having an education, even though she was successful, but she was also very independent, so she wanted definitely her daughters or her children to be able to go out there in the big bad world. But by the time me, William and John came along, we were quite successful. So she changed her tack completely.
The boys were not
girls,
encouraged to go to university at all.
No, and I wasn't either, but I wanted to be here from the age. I wouldn't have gone to school if I didn't have to. I always loved being here. So we've all basically, in our time, really worked here and had we always had different departments, which was the only way really I think we could get on.
Yeah.
So Marianne had the house plants,
and
I
the
had
craft shop,
furniture and
I had the craft shop as well.
Shop. Jenny had more of the plants. Lindy had the plants. Willem and John had the landscape, and yeah, we kind of created these little sections, our own little fiefdoms.
Yeah.
Never the other to cross, although that's not true. At night, when we were all together, we'd all talk about it. You know, we were still quite young then.
Yeah.
It's like the precursor to my head system that I have, where I have, head of plants, head of fashion, head of home, and
that's interesting.
And they look after their own areas, and they do battles from time to time.
Actually, I think that's really interesting, Alan, because I've always thought it was a good way to run things. Because say whoever was doing, I don't know, whichever area it was, they would be responsible for picking the staff, doing the buying,
training the staff,
doing the display. You were kind of involved in every aspect. So Bridie and I used to go to trade shows to buy stuff for the what's now Lifestyle. It was
there's a lot of parallels when we talk about it, because your father particularly very entrepreneurial, and in the way that I run Blue Diamond, it's very entrepreneurial. It's not conventional. Your father certainly wasn't conventional. The hard work in here, and then how you ended up working different areas of business, which I think gives it more strength. Because you've all hard working, you've all got your passion, which you then would have ploughed into those areas, all helping make the business stronger.
And there was quite a lot of healthy competition between us all.
It was very...
Well, thank you for coming in and sharing your Van Hage stories with us. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks, Helen. That was very nice of you. And we're very happy that you're here.
Thank you.
We really are. I think
Thanks.
I can speak for the rest of the family and say that.
Thank you. Thank you. 90 years ago, the Van Hage stories began with growing bulbs of pollen. And now in 2023, Blue Diamond will continue the journey of the Van Hage Garden System.